There are books in the Bible where the name of God resonates powerfully. And there are others where his presence seems completely absent. The Book of Esther belongs to this second group. In its 10 chapters, the name of God does not appear even once. Not Jehovah, not Elohim, not Adonai. Nothing. And yet, it is impossible to read this story without feeling that someone is pulling the strings. An invisible hand. A silent providence. But what is most surprising is that the name of God is indeed in the Book of Esther, only hidden. Concealed within the original Hebrew text, at key moments in the story. Scholars have discovered that the divine name, the 4 sacred letters, Yod, He, Vav, He, appears hidden in the form of an acrostic, that is, using the initial or final letters of consecutive words. And it doesn't happen by chance, it appears 4 times, at the most decisive moments of the story. Twice the name is formed in normal order, and twice in reverse order. As if the author were saying, sometimes God acts openly, and other times, silently. But he is always present. Let's look at each of these 4 hidden appearances. First, Esther, chapter 1, verse 20. This is the moment when Queen Vashti disobeys the king, and the advisors decide to depose her. From the outside, it seems like just a political decree, a story of pride and human power. But in the Hebrew text, the initial letters of 4 consecutive words form the name of God, in reverse order. That is, the name is there, but backward. Why backward? Because God is working from the shadows. He is not seen, not mentioned, but he is already preparing the way. What seems like a simple palace decision is actually the first move of a heavenly plan. Second appearance, Esther chapter 5, verse 4. Here, Queen Esther decides to act. She courageously presents herself before the king and invites him, along with Haman, to a banquet she has prepared. In this verse, the initial letters of 4 words spell out the name of God, in the correct order. Now the name is not reversed, but forwards. This teaches us something. When Esther takes a step of faith, God begins to act more visibly. When God's people obey, providence is revealed. There is no longer just a hidden plan, but divine action underway. Third appearance, Esther chapter 5, verse 13. This is the moment when Haman, the enemy of the Jews, speaks with pride. He says that all he has is not enough for him until Mordecai bows down to him. And right in those vain words, the final letters of 4 consecutive words spell out the name of God, again, reversed. It's as if the text were saying, a proud man may believe himself to be the center of history, but unknowingly, even his pride serves the purposes of the Most High. The inverted name here symbolizes judgment. Haman's plan will backfire on him. God is present even in the speech of the wicked, though he may not know it. Fourth and final appearance, Esther chapter 7, verse 7. Esther reveals her identity to the king and accuses Haman of plotting the destruction of her people. The king is enraged, and Haman understands that his fate is sealed. In the Hebrew text, the name of God appears once more, with the initial letters in the correct order. Judgment is fulfilled, and salvation is manifested. Now the name, which was previously hidden, is revealed in its fullness. God had been working from the beginning. But only at the end does it become clear that the entire story was written by his hand. These 4 appearances are not accidental. They form a perfect pattern. First, God begins his plan in secret. Second, God acts when his people respond in faith. Third, God reverses the enemy's plans. Fourth, God reveals himself with power in deliverance. The message is clear. Although God's name is not mentioned, his presence fills every line of the book. Esther is a demonstration that God's apparent absence does not mean his inactivity. Sometimes he hides himself, so that his intervention may be all the more glorious. And this leaves us with a profound lesson. In our lives, there are also seasons when it seems that God is silent. There are no signs, no visible miracles. But that does not mean he is not at work. As in the Book of Esther, God continues to move invisible pieces, preparing the moment when his purpose will be revealed. The prophetic message behind the book is powerful. God hides himself, not because he has withdrawn, but so that the human heart may learn to recognize him not only in what is visible, but also in what is hidden. And when all seems lost, his name reappears, in the right order. Because the God of Esther remains the same today. Invisible to the natural eye, but perfectly active in history. Were you surprised to discover that God's name is hidden in the Book of Esther? What does this teach you about how he works in your life? Let me know in the comments. I want to read your thoughts. Thanks for watching.